Hello and welcome to this video. I am Jared Elrod from YouthFactor.us, and today I'm going to show you how to mine out lesson and sermon topics from a little music app called Spotify. So the whole idea behind this is your students are listening to a lot of music, and in my experience, it doesn't matter how sheltered they are and how well, I mean, just for lack of, and I can say this because I was a homeschool kid. I mean, they can be a homeschool kid who's not even allowed to watch, anything other than Pixar movies, and chances are they're still probably listening to some pretty explicit music. I've seen this in my students. I'm not sure why parents will be very strict on what their kids are allowed to watch. And then when it comes to music, they just kind of seem to check out and they don't seem to pay nearly as much attention. And or maybe it's just easier to hide because the kids on their phone or whatever and with earphones and they can't see. It's not like they walk in and see that they're watching like Walking Dead on a TV screen and are able to be like, whoa, you can't watch that. So anyways, the whole idea is they're listening to a whole bunch of music. Most likely, even if they're listening to Christian music, there's a lot of secular music that's covering all kinds of topics. I mean, you've got stuff like, sexual, you've got political, a lot of worldview type topics, just all kinds of stuff on there. It falls the full gamut. I mean, I know a few years ago Macklemore was super popular, and everyone's listening to his music, and he's talking about gay rights and whatnot, and pushing that. And so these people are becoming influencers to your students, and then kind of bombarding them, for lack of a less serious sounding word. And you've got anywhere from like they like these people and then they see their interviews and they hear them talking like like Macklemore type issue I was talking about, or even just listening to their music. I mean, Miley Cyrus's music is very extreme in some of her opinions on how to live your life and whatnot. And yeah, these are who your kids are listening to, and whether they like it or not, on some level, beginning to look up to a little bit because they spend so much time listening to the message these people are preaching. So this is a way to see what that message is, what they're being hit with, and be able to kind of counter that with the gospel. So first off, if you haven't already, go over to Spotify.com because you got to actually have the app and have an account for this to work. Okay, so once you're on the site, it makes it super simple to right here hit play free. I mean, there's also a premium option that you can have at. I think it's $9.99 a month. I don't have it, and none of my students do. So you have the option to you can just create a new account based off email, or you can sign up with Facebook. Either one. One thing I have noticed is I think I'm not 100% sure on this. I tried to like find out for sure, and then I kind of got mixed answers. But one thing you might want to watch out for is students having more than one account. So having one they sign up just with an email address that's private that they use, and then having one that they sign up to with Facebook. So that way, that's the one they can like share if their parents are like wanting to, what are you listening to? So yeah. Anyways, just be aware of that. That's a slight possibility. Once you have it, you install it, you can go over the app, and this is pretty much what it looks like. Let me expand this out here. So yeah, it's a music app, but it's a little more social. There's even a few chat features and whatnot, so it's a little on the social side. Over here, something that's kind of cool is speaking of social, you can follow people. So you can type up in the search up here. Let's get rid of this bar. Just saying I need to update mine. So you can search, you can find your students, you can follow them, you can see who they're following. There's some very basic limited messaging features where you can go into a song and message them something about the song. But then over here, right away, you can see everyone who's listening to music. So you can see these are all the people. So some of these are just friends, but some of these are actually students of mine, and I can kind of see what they're listening to, which is kind of cool. And that's kind of the social aspect of it. But let's say I'm really wanting to dive in and get some of these good topics. So let's put in one of my students. Now, this search, you can search artists, you can search songs, and then even search people you're following. So grab the student here that I'm looking for. And again, this can be any of the students you're following. And we can see right now, so there's an overview, there's public playlists, there's following, we can see who he's following, there's followers, and we can see who's following him, so we can even get some idea of, like, you know, influence of others. So if you have a young junior high, like a 6th grader, and you see that he's following a bunch of, you know, college kids and you know, being influenced to listen to what they're listening to, you know, that's something you can, you know, maybe you want to have a talk with them. I don't know. That's up to you. You do what you want with that information. So they've got their public playlist and their overview. So now, here's the thing. Their public playlist is not every single thing they're listening to. So just like they could create more than one account, they can hide some of what they're listening to. They're able to go in, I mean, they can have a private playlist for one thing, if they want to have like a bunch of songs on there that they just know, you know, because their parents check and they just know will get them in trouble. They can make a private playlist, and they also, see, the other thing though with that is it shows over here what they're listening to. So even if they have a private playlist, if you happen to be looking and see, you can see, like right here, the name of the song and the artist, right? You can see the information. Well, if they want to avoid that as well, they can go into a private session and listen in a private session and completely hide. So, I mean, this isn't like a foolproof. This is not a tool to catch your students and get them in trouble. One, just because they can hide most of that if they really want to. And secondly, if you do that, they're going to start, you know, blocking you and hiding from you, and you're going to lose a great opportunity. I feel like that's the wrong approach to go in and use this as like a Big Brother type tool and say, here's a list of all the inappropriate songs you're listening to, you know, and try to guilt them into it. So that's up to you though. But I'm going to tell you right now, after you do that once or twice, you are going to not have access anymore. And my students know that I can see what they do, and because of how I approach conversations with them, and I never bully them or beat them up with it, I have just conversations. I'm never telling them this is what you need to do. I'm always bringing up topics and asking questions, and so because of that, they respect that, and they still allow me access to see the stuff they're listening to. But as you can see here, I mean, I'm amazed at what students will leave public. So now the student does have private playlists, which kind of freaks me out because I can already see he has public. And again, this is a very, I'm not going to say sheltered, but this is a kid who does not watch inappropriate TV. At least that's what him and his brother and his parents have told me. They tell me what kind of stuff they watch. I mean, this kid primarily watches, you know, Disney Channel, which that's debatable on its own level, but this kid primarily watches like Disney Channel and like Pixar movies and what DreamWorks and that kind of stuff. So yet we can see right here, okay, there's Christian, cool, and then there's just my music, and we can already see, you know, Miley Cyrus and some other stuff in here. So if we really want to see what else is in here, we can click on this. We can hit play and just play it if we want to just start listening. If we click on this, we can really drill down and see every single song that's in here. There's a lot of them. So here's how I like to do this. There's multiple ways. I mean, you can just take the title of the song and go look it up on lyrics. But what I like to do first is to save myself a little time. Well, I don't know if it's maybe save myself time, but rather than Googling every one of these, I will listen through them a little bit, and then maybe with a notebook, and then like take notes on, so like write down, okay, the artist is Imagine Dragons, and the name of the song is Polaroid, and then I'll hit play and I'll listen to it for a little bit to see if there's good topics in there. And if they're starting to talk about something that's like, oh yeah, I should preach on that from, you know, a gospel perspective, I'll just stop where I am because I know there's stuff in there. Cool, it's on my list, I'll move on. And then after just a few minutes of listening to 20, 30 seconds, maybe the whole song, I'll have a list of the artist and the song name and a few topics. That way, then I can go on Google and bring up the actual lyrics, and then I can copy and paste them or take a screenshot or whatever, and then I can go and pull out, versus listening to every single word, I can just use straight on the lyrics to pull out the different topics that I want to then begin to preach on. How I like to do it is I like to take statements from the song and then brainstorm topics around that. So there's a Miley Cyrus in here, and I know I'm kind of picking on Miley Cyrus, but I don't mean to. It's just I'm more familiar with that particular song with some of these. Like Imagine Dragons, I know, but I don't. Here we go. Miley Cyrus is so in your face with this particular album, it makes it easy to pick on. So I can take the song "We Can't Stop," and I actually did this, I did it as an example in the article. So I was able to go through and take things like certain articles, like it's our party and we can do what we want. So that was a statement I wrote down. We can be with who we want. I wrote that one down. We can kiss who we want. I put that one down. There's one in there that's something about partying, dancing with Molly. Well, Molly is a drug. It's a party drug. So that's obviously, there's a whole bunch of topics that range around that. So I wrote down these different like lines from the song, and then was able to brainstorm topics out from under there. So like, it's our party, we can do what we want. Okay, so now I was able to brainstorm. You can see if you're listening to this somewhere else on YouTube or whatever, or watching it, I mean, go over to youthfactor.us and find the article, and I actually have a breakdown of how I did this, so you can get an idea of how you can come up with, for each of these for each song, you can come up with at least a half dozen, if not a dozen, of these expressions, I guess I'll say, and then under each of them you can come up with 1, 2, 3 different topics. Now obviously you don't want to take, like, it would become extremely boring if you took like one song from one artist and then developed 36 lessons off of that one song and spent like the next 36 weeks referencing the actual song. Which brings up another point. I don't actually, it's your discretion, but I don't suggest maybe you all the time say, now I'm preaching on this message which I got from this song. I mean, maybe like if a song's super popular as a single, it might be interesting, and then it shows the students, like the direct correlation. But a lot of this, you're just going to want to have these topics and not necessarily say, I got this from listening to your Spotify music and it's from this song, because the kids will start to tune that out and start to think that that's like some sort of like weird youth pastor scammy method or something. So, but that's your discretion. If you want to spend 36 weeks preaching on one Miley Cyrus song, have at it. I just don't think that's nearly as effective. And here's the other thing. Like, you don't even have to develop topics just based around this. I mean, you can use this. See, don't have the paid version, so I get the ads. You can use this just to keep your finger on the pulse of what they're listening to. So you can continue continue developing your lessons the way you normally do, but then you can use this method for examples. And I like to do that a lot too. So I'll be preaching on something. So for example, if I'm preaching on authority and I'm preaching on like God ordained authority, I can then go in and I can drop a little reference to like that Miley Cyrus song and be like, and a lot of times I won't even say, I'll be just casual about it and just be like, you know what, this isn't our party. We can't just do what we want. Like, there is, and I can go in and I can drop references, and that makes things more relevant. And I was like, as a Christian, we're saying this is God's party, and then God, you can go in, and that was just off the top of my head and probably not so great, but you get the idea. There's multiple ways you can use this, and then there's just endless accountability ways. I mean, or endless options here. I mean, you can use this just to be praying for your students, to know what kind of stuff they're listening to, and be praying against different strongholds. Like if you can see a certain student who is struggling with a certain issue, I mean, and you can see that they're listening to music all around that certain issue, you'd be praying for that. You can even maybe pull them in and talk to them. Again, I wouldn't be like, hey, this is what you're listening to, this is bad. But I mean, it just gives you insight into what they're being told on a constant basis. I mean, the idea is, if you preach on a Wednesday night service, you've got them for, let's say, the entire service for about 2 hours, and then maybe anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour of that is you're speaking, depending on how you have your service set up. I mean, at most, if you've got Sunday school, you've got a midweek service, and let's say you have like another service that you do like on a Sunday or something. I mean, at most you're talking an hour to 2 hours of you getting to pour into them there. And now I know there's other ways of different things, but like that's your core amount to be able to preach and speak into their lives. And then they're listening to this stuff all day, every day. And these people are getting, and don't think it's just music. I mean, it's there's two extremes, right? You can go and try to beat them up and on this and say you can only listen to Christian music, which I think is going to fail because they're going to just tune you out and you're no longer going to have any a voice of authority in their lives. But then there's the other way, just to go, oh, it's no big deal, it's just harmless music. I mean, these are sermons, right? So you got these people preaching to them. I mean, Roar from Katy Perry. I mean, not to say that that's necessarily a bad song. I haven't really listened to it specifically. I don't particularly like it, so I try to avoid it. But I mean, it's a fight song. It's like an anthem song that they go in and they use for inspiration. They're hearing these things, and it's all about her talking about when times are tough and like how you should respond and whatnot. And there's just all kinds of stuff in here. And that's really, they're being preached this stuff hours and hours and hours a day. So there you go. That's how to do it. Take it for what it's worth. Use it however you want. But there's a few ideas. I wanted to, one, make you aware that you could be like, oh, I can see what they're listening to, and I can get insights into their world. And then two, just some ideas for some practical applications. So hopefully this video has helped you. If so, if you made it to the end of this video and read the entire article, I'm going to assume that it struck a chord with you. What would do me a huge favor, I put the time in to make this. If you wanted to help give back, if you wanted to spend 3 seconds to click share share it on your favorite social network, that would help me and help other youth pastors to see this, and then help me grow my base as well. So I'd really appreciate that if you have 3 seconds to click that. If not, see you next time. Jared Elrod, youthfactor.us.